Hard on the Track. Part 2. Chapter 9 Morning in the Safe Lane. I woke to sunlight spilling through the half-open blinds and the faint smell of coffee drifting in from somewhere down the hall. For a second, I forgot where I was. Then the ache in my ribs reminded me. I eased myself upright, wincing as the bruises pulled. David's guest room was minimalist clean lines, soft gray walls, a view of the city waking up. My jacket hung neatly on the back of the chair. My shoes were by the door. David had taken the time to make sure nothing was just thrown aside. I padded slowly into the living area, bare feet on the cool wood floor. David was at the stove, wearing a plain black t-shirt and sweatpants, hair slightly messy in a way I'd never seen before. He turned as I entered. "You should be lying down." "I've been lying down all night," I said, trying for a smile. Besides, the smell of coffee is a powerful motivator. His eyes flicked over me not in a way that made me feel exposed, but in a way that made me feel seen. "You're moving too stiff. Sit down, would you?" I sat down slowly. Not because he told me to, at least. That's what I told myself. But because there was something grounding in the way he said it. He poured me a mug, then set down a plate with eggs and toast in front of me. "Eat. You need to get your strength back." I raised an eyebrow. "Is this standard team policy?" His gaze held mine. It is when someone tries to take my spotter out of commission. The way he said "my" made something flutter in my chest. We ate in comfortable silence for a few minutes, the kind where neither of us needed to fill the space. Then David leaned back, studying me like he was weighing his next move. "You're not going back to your apartment," he said. It wasn't a question. "David." "Lukas." Adam's not finished. "And I'm not giving him a second chance. You can stay here as long as you need." The stubborn set of his jaw told me arguing was pointless. But underneath that, I could hear something else, something softer. "You really don't have to. I know I don't have to," he interrupted, his voice low. "I want to." The words hung there between us, heavy and warm. I didn't know if I should thank him or close the distance right then. In the end, I did neither. I just sipped my coffee, feeling the steady weight of his presence across the table, and realizing that maybe, just maybe, I didn't want to leave at all. Chapter 10, Breaking the Silence. The city outside was quiet. From the couch, I could see the skyline glowing against the dark, the soft hum of traffic like a lullaby. David had gone into his office to finish some sponsor calls. I told myself I should sleep. My ribs still ached, and my body was begging for rest, but my mind wouldn't settle. When I finally heard him return, the sound of his footsteps made butterflies in my stomach. He was barefoot, his t-shirt a little rumpled, and there was a faint crease between his brows like the day hadn't fully let go of him yet. "You're still up?" he said, stopping by the couch. "Couldn't sleep," I nodded toward the window. "City's too alive." He glanced out at the view, then back at me. "Or maybe your head is," I smirked faintly. "Maybe." He sat down beside me, close enough that his knee brushed mine. "You've been quiet all day." I shrugged. "A lot's happened in the last 48 hours. I'm still catching up." David studied me for a long moment. His gaze was steady, searching, like he could read every thought I wasn't saying out loud. "I keep thinking about what would have happened if I hadn't found you," he said finally. "If I'd been a minute later." "You were there," I said softly. "That's what matters." His jaw flexed. "No, what matters is that I keep you safe. And I will." I swallowed, the weight of his words sinking into me. "Why?" The question seemed to surprise him, but only for a second. "Because you're not just my spotter, Lukas." The air between us shifted. Thicker. Warmer. His hand came to rest lightly on my knee, his thumb brushing just once before stopping like he was giving me the choice to move away, but I didn't. We stayed there for what felt like forever, eyes locked, neither of us speaking. The tension was almost unbearable. Then David leaned in. Not fast, not tentative, just steady, as if this had been inevitable from the moment we met. The first touch of his lips was soft, careful, but when I didn't pull back, he deepened it. One hand cupping my jaw, the other bracing against the back of the couch. I felt the heat of him, the quiet strength in the way he held me, and for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like I was holding myself together alone. When we finally broke apart, his forehead rested against mine. "You're safe here," he murmured. And in that moment, I believed him. Chapter 11, back in the game. By the time I woke the next morning, David was already gone from the apartment. But a mug of coffee sat on the kitchen counter with a yellow sticky note stuck to it. Track at 10. Bring that sharp brain of yours. David. The coffee was still warm. At the circuit, the air was buzzing. Media crews were already sniffing around after David's win, and whispers about the drama between him and Adam were everywhere. I found David near the pit wall, deep in conversation with the chief mechanic. When he spotted me, his face lit up, not a big smile, but the kind that felt personal, like it wasn't for anyone else. "Lukas," he said, motioning me over. "We're testing a new setup today. I want your read on it." I nodded, slipping into work mode. It was almost comforting, the way the world narrowed to lap times, cornering lines, and radio calls. We were a unit out there, speaking in clipped bursts, only we fully understood. Across the paddock, Adam's team was watching us. Adam himself stood by his car, helmet under one arm, his eyes dark and sharp. He didn't bother to hide his glare. Later, during a break, I overheard him talking to one of his crew. "He won't last the season. You'll see. David's only keeping him around for now." It was meant for me to hear. I ignored it, but David didn't. He stepped up beside me, low enough for only me to hear. "Let him talk. By the time we're done, he'll be the one watching you from the sidelines." The rest of the session went smoothly until the final run, when David pushed the car harder than before. His voice over the radio was calm, but I could feel the underlying fire, not just to win, but to send a message. When he pulled back into the garage, Adam was already gone. "He's planning something," I said quietly. David tossed his gloves onto the workbench. "Good. Let him. We'll be ready." The way he said "we" made it clear whatever came next, it wasn't just mine or his fight anymore. Chapter 13, after the noise. The crowd had long gone. The track was silent now, the only sound the faint hum of the overhead lights in the garage. The air still smelled of burnt rubber and hot engine metal. David's car sat in Bay 3, stripped of its wheels, the hood propped open as the last of the mechanics packed away tools. I was sitting on a low workbench, headset hanging around my neck, scrolling through race data on the tablet. My body felt heavy, but my mind wouldn't shut down, replaying every moment Adam had tried to screw us over today. "You're still here?" I looked up. David was walking toward me. His hair still damp from a quick shower, wearing just his team shirt unzipped over a black t-shirt. His voice was lower than usual, almost blending with the hum of the lights. "Was just double-checking the lap analysis," I said. He stopped in front of me, close enough that the faint scent of his soap cut through the mechanical smells. "You don't have to work this late. Race is over." "Yeah, well, apparently not for Adam." The corner of David's mouth twitched not quite a smile. "He'll keep trying. But tonight, we won." I exhaled, tension I didn't realize I'd been holding slipping away. Barely. Barely still counts. He reached out, took the tablet from my hands, and set it aside on the bench. His hand lingered there for a moment, fingers brushing mine in a way that felt deliberate. For a few seconds, neither of us spoke. The garage felt huge and empty, yet his presence made it feel smaller, warmer. "You were sharp today," he said quietly. "Without you, I'd have walked right into his stunt." "You listened," I said. Most drivers wouldn't. His eyes didn't leave mine. You're not most people, Lukas. That did something to my chest. I tried to cover it with a smirk. Careful. People might start thinking you actually like me. He didn't smirk back. He just stepped a fraction closer, so close I could feel the heat off his body in the cool night air. Let them think what they want. His voice was low, rough at the edges. For a moment, I thought he was going to kiss me again. Instead, he reached up, tugged the zipper of my jacket closed with slow precision, and then let his fingers linger for a heartbeat against my collarbone before stepping back. "Come on," he said, softer now. "I'm taking you home." As we left the garage, I realized my pulse hadn't slowed once since he walked in. Chapter 14, The Headlines Turn. By Monday morning, I knew something was off. It started with my phone buzzing nonstop, not texts from friends, but notifications from the racing forums and social media. My name was everywhere, and not in a good way. The headlines read like poison. Rookie spotter using David Stone's fame for career boost? Inside the rift between Stone and former teammate Adam Kerr, new player to blame. I didn't need to read far to know exactly who was feeding these stories. By midday, the paddock was buzzing again. Mechanics whispered when I passed, and a few reporters even tried to corner me with questions like, "Are you manipulating David for your own gain?" I kept my head down, but by the time I reached our garage, my patience was running on fumes. David was already there, leaning against his car with his arms folded, talking to the crew chief. He looked up the moment he saw me, his eyes scanning my face like he could read the whole story in one glance. "You've seen it?" he asked. Hard to miss, David's jaw tightened. "He's desperate." Before I could answer, a pack of reporters swarmed in, shoving Mix forward. One of them shouted, "David, care to comment on claims your spotter is sabotaging other drivers for you?" David didn't even blink. He stepped forward, putting himself directly between me and the press. "Yeah," he said, his voice cutting through the noise. "My comment is, Lukas is the best spotter I've ever had. Anyone saying otherwise is either blind or lying. Which one do you think applies here?" The room went still for a beat. Then the reporters started yelling questions again, but David ignored them. He grabbed my wrist knot roughly, but firmly, and pulled me past the crowd, straight into the private section of the garage. When the door shut behind us, he finally let go. "Let him play his games. We'll keep winning, and the noise will die on its own. Doesn't bother you? People thinking I'm using you?" I asked. He gave me a look, steady, unshakable. "I know the truth. That's enough for me." And somehow, that was enough for me too. Chapter 15, The Close Call. The Friday before the next race, the tension in the paddock was thick enough to taste. Adam hadn't backed off since the smear campaign, and I could see it in the way he stalked around his garage, all sharp edges and quick glances toward ours. By the time the green light signaled the start of practice, I was already watching him more than the telemetry. Something in my gut told me today it wasn't going to be clean. David's voice crackled in my headset as he took the first few corners. "Feels good. Balance is solid. Copy. Keep it steady." "He's a few car lengths behind you," I said, eyes glued to the big screen feed. A few laps in, Adam made his move. He closed the gap down the main straight. Not to pass, but to sit so close to David's rear wing that a bad twitch could take them both out. "Don't let him bait you," I warned him. "I see him," David replied. Next lap, Adam tried the inside on turn 6, a corner notorious for wrecks if you misjudge the braking. But instead of committing to the overtake, he drifted just far enough to clip David's line. "Contact, left rear." I snapped. David caught it, countersteering just in time to keep the car from spinning. The crowd gasped over the loudspeakers. "He's pushing you off track," I said. "Not this time," David growled. The next lap, David stayed wide on turn 6, forcing Adam to commit. Adam went for it too fast and ran over the curb, sending his car skidding toward the barrier. He missed by inches, but the message was clear. One wrong move, and he'd take David with him. When the session ended, David pulled into the garage and yanked off his helmet. Sweat plastered his hair to his forehead, but his eyes were locked on me, not the car. You saw that, right? Yeah. Everyone saw it. Good. Because when he tries it tomorrow, we'll be ready. Chapter 16, The Evidence. The night before the race, the paddock was quiet. Most teams had packed up early to rest. I stayed behind in the garage, reviewing the car's onboard footage from practice. At first, I was just looking for corner entry speeds. But then I froze the frame. On the video, just before David's car rolled out for the session, someone walked past the left rear tire. Hoodie up, head turned away from the camera, but the build, the gait. It was Adam. I rewound, zoomed in. In his hand, glinting under the fluorescent light, was a small metal valve tool, the kind you use to bleed pressure from a tire. Heart pounding, I pulled up another angle from the pit cameras. This one caught his profile for a split second. No mistake. I copied the footage to a separate drive and sat there staring at it, the weight of it pressing down on me. This wasn't just on-track aggression, this was tampering. Dangerous, illegal. My mind was already racing through the options. Give it to the officials now and end his career before tomorrow. Or keep it quiet, let David beat him clean, and then decide what to do. The garage door creaked open. David stepped in carrying 2 paper cups. Couldn't sleep. Something like that. I quickly minimized the footage, but not fast enough. His eyes flicked to the monitor. What's that? I hesitated, then hit play. He watched in silence, jaw tightening with each second. When it ended, he set the coffee down and leaned on the workbench, close enough that I could feel the tension radiating off him. We could end this now, he said. Yeah. But if we do, tomorrow means nothing. He studied me for a long moment. You want to beat him on the track first, I nodded. I want him to lose knowing it wasn't because he got caught, it was because we were better. David's mouth curved into a slow, dangerous smile. Then we'll keep this in our pocket. Tomorrow, we finish it. Chapter 17, The Final Lap. The stands were packed, engines roaring, the air electric with anticipation. This was it, the last race of the season, where everything would be decided. David slid into the cockpit. Calm, but focused. I was at the pit wall, headset tight, ready for every call. The lights went out. From the first turn, it was a battle. David and Adam trading positions, neither giving an inch. Their rivalry wasn't just about speed anymore. It was a war of wills. Mid-race, Adam tried his usual tricks, pushing too close, baiting, but David stayed sharp, his driving flawless. Keep him in your mirrors, I said, voice steady but tense. On lap 42, Adam made his move. The inside line on the final chicane, he was all in. Hold your line, David. David didn't hesitate. He kept steady, forcing Adam wide. The crowd held its breath as they barreled into the final straight side by side. With a surge of speed and perfect timing, David edged ahead, crossing the finish line first by a fraction of a second. The roar of the crowd was deafening. Back in the garage, Adam's team looked defeated, but David didn't celebrate. Instead, he looked at me, eyes soft but intense. We did it, he said. I smiled, heart pounding. Yeah, we did. Chapter 18, After the race. The city lights twinkled below us as we sat on the rooftop of David's apartment building, the night air cool but comfortable. David leaned back on his hands, eyes on the horizon. You ever think about what comes after all this? I shrugged, watching the glow of the street lamps flicker like tiny stars. I didn't used to. Racing was all I wanted. But now? I glance at him, heart speeding. Now, I want more. He turned to me, a slow smile spreading. Me too. For a long moment, neither of us spoke, just the quiet city and the steady beat of our racing hearts. Finally, he reached out, fingers brushing mine with a gentle certainty. No more sidelines, he said softly. Not for either of us. I smiled back, feeling like the luckiest guy in the world. Not anymore. And under the vast night sky, with the future wide open before us, that was enough. The end. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe so you won't miss the next story coming soon.